Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is the call-in show to, well, not start off your Monday morning. I mean, it is the afternoon hour at 2 p.m, but it is the call-in show and this is your show to get all your opinions in. We are back after the weekend. Obviously, I was off this weekend, but I've seen all of the sales stuff coming out and there's so many opinions on it and you guys need to phone up and get your opinions across. I'm very excited to hear what people have to say. If it's controversial, whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us, make sure you click the link below and call in. And to co-host with me today, I'm joined by Maud. Maud, nice to see you.
Thank you for having me on again. I think it's going to be interesting to see what people's opinions are. I think it's going to be a bit divided. Some people are very, very upset. I've seen a lot of upset people this weekend, but some people are a bit more optimistic, so I'm curious to see.
I'm not going to lie. I feel like the people that are optimistic are just living in delusion land.
You kind of have to as a United fan. You don't really have a choice anymore. Like, we have to kind of hope for the best. So now I'm interested to see what people are saying.
No, I completely get it. I get why you'd want something like that because it's so draining to think negatively. But this weekend, I've been as flat as a pancake. Literally, I've been so deflated. But let's get your calls in, and we'll start off with we have Shaf coming in talking about that we're making a mistake by bringing Sir Jim in. Obviously, if you have been living in a cardboard box this weekend, it looks like Sir Jim has won the race for the minority stake in Manchester United, 25% share, but he wants all control over sporting decisions, and Qatar have left the race. And Shaf says that we're making a mistake by bringing Sir Jim in. I think a lot of people will agree with you on this one. Shaf, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I do think we've made a mistake. I mean, you know, I draw this analogy, like Mark loves giving analogies. It's like, you know, the Conservative government, right? When they came in, they made big promises. We're going to get Brexit done, get Brexit done, get Brexit done. And they did do it, but look at the catastrophe it caused, the after effects. I think the exact same thing of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. If you look at him at Nice, the fans, Dante called him out the other day, I think he's club captain, but the fans have made numerous blogs about him over-promising, under-delivering. And even Mark, I don't always agree with Mark, but he's good to listen to as someone, like you said, it's about opinion. But Mark, I think, has been on the ball in terms of giving an objective analysis. Like, you know what it is? It's like, right now, we had Qatar, a fresh start, versus, you know, Jim Ratcliffe. He's like a glass half full. And I think we're all opting for the glass half full only because it seems like something different. But Radcliffe hasn't given us any assurances, you know, in terms of what he's going to do specifically or prescriptively. It's all about, same as the Conservative government, we're going to get Brexit done. These guys are saying, or Sir Jim Ratcliffe is saying, I'm going to make Manchester great again. And to me, these are nothing but sound bites.
Yeah,
Trust me, like...
I can completely understand where you're coming from there. There is no proof in the pudding. I mean, you speak about his time at Nice. One thing, as you can see by the title of the show that we are talking about, is Sir Jim's clear out. There was reports coming out saying that the staff inside Manchester United would have preferred Sheikh Jassim because they feel like they would have kept the jobs, and Sir Jim is looking to overhaul quite a lot of the staff. A big one being Paul Mitchell maybe coming in as sporting director. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that appointment if that does happen?
Paul Mitchell, again, speaking objectively, fantastic. But who's to say they would the Qataris would not have got Paul Mitchell? I think, again, the newspapers are doing what the newspapers are doing, as always, just to, you know, the PR machine give up a bit of positive spin. Paul Mitchell, I would love Paul Mitchell. I'd love Paul Mitchell. It's a breath of fresh air from what we've got now. But is that exclusive to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or is he only dropping that name just for a bit of brownie points here and there? So I think Qataris probably would have got Paul Mitchell as well. They probably would have got Mark Edwards. You know, hell, I was thinking about it the other day. Imagine Qatar did something really outside the box and they got David Gill back. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking Qatar want to make a statement, and I think they would have made a statement. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is just all about sound bites. And to answer your question, I wouldn't mind Paul Mitchell, but I don't think that's contingent or dependent on Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
Do you feel,
know what I mean?
Do you feel like there needs to be an overhaul anyway? Because when we look at other clubs that have been taken over, someone like City, when their owners came in, they did do the same thing. They did a big overhaul as well and cleared pretty much everyone out and brought in a whole new team. So do you feel like United will also need that kind of refresh, that refurb into the club to bring a different kind of dynamic in the club? Or do you feel like it's better if we do keep similar faces in the club rather than bring like a whole new fresh team?
Okay, there's two parts to your question. Okay. Number one is Yes, we do. But if you look at Sir Jim Radcliffe's offer, 25% stake he's taking, just by and large, Glazers and their puppets will still stay there, because if they're only taking charge of the footballing operations, Glazer's going to still have, his stooges that he has now running the show, the financial side of things. All they care about is the commercial side of things, the revenue, the money. So on paper, they still own, the Glazers own a bigger share. So under Radcliffe, we can't do a clear out, even if we wanted to, because he hasn't got the power to do that. He can bring new people in, but he hasn't got the power like City did, blank slate. Whereas Qatar, they would have pulled every punch that they had. To them, they don't owe loyalty to any of these guys. They could have just done what they need to do.
I completely agree with you on that. I think sometimes too many cooks in the kitchen, and I also don't see how it's going to work. He's pumping in just over $1 billion for 25%, and they're going to need more money in time because the stadium needs refurbing, the investment into the club needs to happen, and I don't think in 3 years Sir Jim will be the sole owner of Manchester United. I just don't see a way that it's plausible. I think again, it's just telling you things to keep you on side, and this will just keep going. But thank you so much for calling in. Sorry,
Can I say one more thing here, just before I leave?
Okay,
I don't want to talk too much. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe, God forbid, he's 70 years old. Let's just say he takes a turn for the worst, something happens to him. We're already in a toxic state. What's going to happen to the ownership then? Are the Glazers going to take it back? Is he going to give it to a family member? Like, what's going to happen? Like, he's not getting any younger. These are genuine questions. I don't want to be cynical, but these are genuine questions. We as a fan, when we've got more questions unanswered than we do answers, there's a red flag there.
Yeah, I completely understand your concerns. Hopefully everything will be fine, obviously, with Sir Jim.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. Obviously, 70, you think it sounds old, but realistically, I think 70 is like the new 60.
Yeah,
I don't worry about that side of things. I just worry about what he's going to actually be able to do. Yeah,
I think, like I said, the most important thing is the fact that he changes the culture of the club. I think even if he does that in the next 3 to 5 years, that's a huge impact. And whether he does or whoever comes after him will be able to come into this brand new culture that we've got, this modern culture that we need at United, which I think is the most important thing. So whether it's 3, 5, 10 years, as long as he completes that objective, that's the most important thing that we want.
100%. And this meeting on Thursday is going to be very telling as to what direction the club's going to go in. Liam Charmer says, I want Qatar, but if this was us 2 years ago and we only knew of just Ineos, then it's better than where we were. But still, the fact we had Qatar, it's sad. $8 billion they were going to pump into this club, and we walked away from it. It's absolutely crazy stuff. Everyone, make sure you come and call into the show. Link is in the description. We are excited to hear from you. Next up, we have DZ. DZ's been a regular on the call-in show. I know it's your first one, but he's very good. I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. DZ, are you with us?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're good, we're good. So you've said that you're against Sir Jim and Sheikh Jassim made a mistake. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm very against Sir Jim Rat, and I apologize if that name is offensive to anybody. But when you get in bed with the Glazers, I'm not a fan of you, and that's just the way it's going to be. Before I go into where Sheikh Jassim made a mistake, I was talking about it earlier. I've talked about it on Spaces. Like what Qatar out means for United is horrific, and like a lot of times people look at the Arab oil money and they think, just empty pockets and whatever. These Qatari people are legitimate business owners and they don't let their investments fail. And it's absolutely devastating that on Sunday morning you wake up and it's just like all hope is lost because we got the news Saturday night, right? They don't let their investments fail. You can say whatever you want about PSG's transfer strategy and their league as a joke and their performances in the Champions League. But what they did for that club commercially, I mean, the players that they managed to sign, it's unbelievable. We would have been living in a fairy princess castle world. It's so devastating. Where Sheikh Jassim made a mistake, the Glazers don't care about his plans when they leave. So he said he had $5 billion to spend and $1.7 billion to spend after the takeover for the club, investment in the team, training ground, whatever, right? The Glazers saw that money and they probably were like, well, I want that $1.7 billion. I don't care I don't want you reinvested in the club. So now your price goes up. So he probably shouldn't have been touting how much extra cash he had ready to go to buy the fans over. And that's the, like, I don't blame him, and it's not his fault. He shouldn't have had to pay $8 billion on a $3.5 billion valuation of a club, but he probably just should have kept it close to his chest. Basically what, Sir Jim Rat's doing right now, which is, we know absolutely nothing at all. So,
but I feel like from the fans' point of view, we kind of want to know what the new owners are going to be bringing in. If he was to just come out and say, look, I've got $5 billion to spend on buying the club, but I'm not going to tell you how much I've got to invest. As a fan base, we're going to be like, whoa, like, that's the whole reason why we want you to come in, because we want you to invest on, like you said, a new stadium, new training ground, new facilities, developing the area, everything. So you can say it's a mistake, but again, we want to know what is going to be the next move.
It's not as if Sir Jim is actually, he's going to be a part owner, but it's not as if he's coming in with the full ownership. He is, right now, a minority investor. Because 25%, Glazers still own 69% of the football club, and then the rest of the shares obviously are divided through the New York Stock Exchange. So it is different coming in as a majority owner, because the fans do want to know what's being said. And Sir Jim, it's a very different circumstance. I wouldn't even say we've got new owners. We've got the same owners that are being propped up by an investment. It's so disappointing to see. I mean, DZ, do you see any world in which this Sir Jim deal works out? Because I was looking at Sir Jim's track record, and I didn't want this to be the case. I didn't want to come into the show thinking, I'm really disappointed to see where Man United's going, and I'm really deflated. I wanted to get excited, but, stats don't lie. And I was looking at it, and he came into Nice when he took over, and he promised that they would be competing with the likes of PSG every season. And since then, they have gone 5th, 9th in the league. That's not progression. So does that worry you?
I mean, to be honest with you, I haven't heard those stats. So this is my first reaction. He fits in perfectly at United because we go 4th, 6th, 3rd, 8th. I mean, it's the same nonsense. So it's it's just like a Glazier 2.0. I mean, look, in my opinion, it's always going to be hard to compete in France, especially, and just like it's going to be hard to compete in Germany. Bayern run that league, PSG run their league. They'll buy all the best young players. They'll buy all the players. So I'm not going to hold that against him. What I'm going to look at is, is he firing managers? Is he bringing the right people in? Is his transfer strategy good? Is he able to offload dead weight? That kind of stuff, like actual running and putting people in the right place to run the football club itself. Because, like, I don't want what Todd Bowley is and basically, GMing it himself. I mean, what does he know? So I just don't like the guy. I just think he's a snake, and, he did us all dirty. And I'm not from Manchester, right? Whatever. But I've been watching the club for over 20 years, and, why am I any less of a fan than putting Manchester back in Manchester? I think it's ludicrous. It's just like, it just sucks.
I'm with you on that one. I actually live very close to where Sir Jim was born and brought up, and I don't understand how you can be a United fan and allow the Glazers to stay in power when there's an organisation there, the 9-2 Foundation, that was willing to compete with the best clubs in the world, pump so much money into the city of Manchester, into the club, that is a lot richer than you and can do a better job. For me, he's gone into it for himself, which obviously is a business deal, but don't claim that you're a big Man United fan, because I don't understand how that can be. Prove me wrong, I would love to see it. But DZ, anything else that you want to get off your chest before we wrap up and move on to the next person?
You asked me if I was going to be positive, or, I have no optimistic outlook on the club going forward. I think my biggest fear right now, because like Arsenal, Chelsea, Chelsea will get it right. City, they're going to be unstoppable, whatever. It is what it is. We have to accept it. I think I'll be absolutely devastated if they go and buy another club in the Prem, and it's just going to rub it in all. And it's not just him. It's all the rival fans, everybody. And I mean, I'd just be time to switch to a different league, guys. Sorry.
I mean, a lot of people saying that they could potentially go and buy Liverpool, but I mean, that kind of says a lot if he was to claim to be this big United fan and whatnot, but then he goes and buys Liverpool. It kind of says a lot more about...
We still look like idiots.
I mean, we still look like idiots, but so will Liverpool, to be honest. But, I mean, yeah, they'll probably benefit.
They won't care when they're winning everything and having money injected left, right and centre. There was also talks of him potentially going for Spurs as well, with the new stadium and everything in the London days.
Spurs would love a new owner, to be fair.
I mean, It's disappointing. It's disappointing times, and obviously we'll stick by Manchester United through whatever happens. But I think everyone's feeling a little bit deflated. But you know, if you're not, and if you're excited and you're getting behind Sir Jim and what he's going to bring, make sure you call in and have your say as to why. We all should be as well. But DZ, thank you so much for calling up, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thanks, you two guys. Take care.
See you later.
Yeah.
So we've got a super chat in from Kushal Gurung saying United is doomed. I feel a lot of people are feeling this way at the minute. Adnan says Qatar have pulled out due to political reasons. It's linked to things happening in the Middle East. I mean, I've not heard anything about that, but if you could elaborate a little bit further, then maybe we can look into that. Next up, we have coming in, we have Ryan, who is not fully against Sir Jim.
It's an optimistic one.
We asked for it, and someone's coming in and giving it us. So, Ryan, are you with us, and why are you not against Sir Jim? What do you think he's going to bring to this club that we can get positive about?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Can you hear me fine?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Yeah, so it's more of a skepticism. I do need to clarify that, like, I wanted a full takeover more than anything. I didn't care if it was Qatar, if it was Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or if it was Disney Plus. I don't care who buys the club, as long as it's a full takeover. That's what I wanted. Obviously, like every other fan. But then Qatar comes in and gives you the dream. You know, like you're in Football Manager, and then you can get a cheat code and get anything you want. That was what we all wanted. We can all agree that that's what we want. But the reality is, I think a lot of people are personalizing this deal. It's a business deal, and it's Ineos buying Manchester United, not Sir Jim Ratcliffe personally. And if he dies, I know what's going to happen. But in all honesty, I'm more of those people. I've spent the past, year getting really tired of this and emotionally getting more unattached from the club in this process to the point that I now just try and think as rationally as possible. And I just think, what is our biggest problem at the moment? Yeah, I could talk about the facilities, but the big problem is the footballing side. Are the Glazers doing well on that? Absolutely not. So him getting involved, is that going to improve it? I hope so. That's where I stand at the moment. Is that I'm hopeful they will. But like Gary Neville sent out a really good tweet saying, these are all the questions we need to start asking, and we need them answered. And the reality of the situation, we can all have our opinions. We can all talk about Qatar's $8 billion offer, but we don't actually know how much it was. In reality, it was probably closer to $6 billion plus. This is what we're going to invest in. If I went to you and I said, listen, I'm going to buy your car for $5,000, but then I'm going to invest $1,000 on it, you're going to be like, what the hell is he talking about? Why is he telling me what he's going to do with the car after he buys it? You know, like that doesn't matter. And I felt, I wasn't upset. That's good news for us as fans, but it feels like a little bit of manipulation from Qatar in terms of like to rile fans up and get them on their side kind of thing. But they're what I wanted. They were the dream. And I'm simply just not going to criticize Sir Jim Ratcliffe until I have or given an opportunity to answer those questions. You know what I mean?
I find that understandable, Ryan. I can understand your point of view. But what do you really think Sir Jim can bring with a 25% stake? And do you think he will eventually buy out the club? Because I personally can't see where that money's going to come from to eventually buy out the Glazers, especially considering how much he's overpaid for a 25% stake.
Quite frankly, I think him or Ineos have more than enough money because they spend things like 3.5 billion on renewable energy investments and stuff like that. So money is not going to be a problem. Elon Musk didn't have 44 billion in his pocket to buy Twitter. He sold his assets, and Ineos have assets to invest wherever they want. And businessmen like him work in loans because that has tax benefits. They save money on tax, and that counters the interest of the loans. So they save so much money from tax by getting credit that the interest doesn't matter to them. So I'm not really concerned about him not having money to buy. It's more of whether the Glazers want to sell, and hopefully, I don't think Ineos as a company is stupid enough to say we'll buy 25% and not think about the future. But we can talk about what's going on at Nice, but I guarantee you most people don't even know where Nice is before 5 years ago. So no offense to Nice, but like the general fan that's not in Europe is not going to be thinking about Nice. And now they're in second place above PSG. Is that progress? We don't know. They got some managers that, well, even though the manager was kind of scalped by PSG straight away, they did some audacious things and they're doing okay at the moment. So it's a bit too soon into a project to criticize him for what they're doing in Ligue 1, but we'll see.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's too soon when you've had 4 seasons and you've not gone above fifth. in 4 seasons. I think you do have to criticise that. And if you speak to a lot of Nice fans, they're not happy with the under-delivering of a lot of promises from Sir Jim. But I know I'm putting you on the spot here, Ryan. I really appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with us. But you spoke then about them buying it in the future and wanting to and being able to afford to buy it in the future. If that's the case, why haven't they tried to buy? Why haven't they been able to buy it all now? And why did they never put up a good enough offer to buy the whole club now?
The Glazers don't want to sell. That's the reality of the situation. They just want to find a way to keep the club, make money, and just appease the fans in whatever way possible while still getting what they want. You know what I mean? I think DZ made a really good point. I don't think Qatar made a good enough offer, because what they were trying to do, although it was way above the valuation, like the values and the monies we're talking about is stupid. I'm just going to make that clear. I'm not saying they didn't give enough value, but for what they wanted to do, which is take 100% of the club from owners who don't want to sell, from a club that could easily go up in value the way football's trending. I'm sorry, but you need to blow them out the water and say, this is here, F you money, get out of the club. But they didn't do that. They bid under Sir Jim Ratcliffe's value, which is it's a shame. I'm devastated that happened. But reality is Sir Jim Ratcliffe went in there to get whatever he could. Whether he's got good intentions or not, we'll see. I'm hoping he does. I'm being hopeful here because I'm tired of all the negativity, realistically. But that's where we stand, unfortunately.
Well, Ryan, I got a question for you, though. So you spoke about the most important thing for United right now is the sporting side of it. So maybe getting a new sporting director, just a whole new team around the actual footballing aspect of United. But I feel like there is a kind of debate on that as to whether the actual most important thing is changing, for example, the stadium, getting new training facilities, everything else around the club, not just the footballing side, because for the past 10 years, we've been trying to change the footballing side of it, you know, numerous times. We've gotten how many new managers, we've gotten different sporting directors, new coaches, new assistant coaches, new players. So would you not say that the most important thing might not be the footballing aspect of United, but everything that surrounds it?
I mean, let me use Tottenham as an example. When they built their new stadium, how many times did you talk about their stadium to your friends? Was it just once in a while that you saw it on TV? Was it a talking point every week about how amazing their stadium is? They're a great club because of their amazing stadium? Or are we talking about them more now because of how well they're doing, regardless of the stadium? Yeah, they're fortunate to have a good stadium and playing well at the moment, but what's going to change the club? What's going to change the fans and how they react? Because I've said it again and again on Twitter, and I know not a lot of people follow me, but I've always used Manchester United as a fish tank. You can keep the fish tank and it gets dirty, you're not taking care of it, and you can keep spending money on new fish. The new fish will be energetic. That's Rasmus Højlund. In a couple of weeks, that fish is going to slow down, match the other fish, and then die. Unless you fix the fish tank and the fish around it, nothing's going to get any better. If you start winning titles, like look how happy we were at the Carabao Cup. Look at the fans. Did you see? You remember Twitter? We were talking about the Carabao Cup here. Can you imagine if that's the FA Cup, a league, or doing well in Europe? Those things alone is just going to get the fans together. That's the only thing. We're divided as a fan base because some want Qatar, some want Sir Jim Ratcliffe, some just want change, some just want Glazers out, but we all want titles. That's it.
Brian,
we don't look back. Sorry. We don't look back in the history of our club and think, do you remember that expansion we made to the stadium? No, look at those trophies and look how much of a legend these players were. And that's just my opinion on this.
Ryan, I'm completely with you on that in the sense that the footballing side is obviously priority, but I think there's more to that, and I think part of that is having the facilities, having the investment. I mean, Charlie Savage coming out and saying that Reading has the same standard of facilities as Man United is just, I mean, it makes us look so embarrassing. But I actually have one last question, and then we will wrap it up. But you've been such a good caller. I need to ask you this last one. You talk about the footballing side of things being super important, which it is. But do you really think that Sir Jim Ratcliffe, with what he's coming in now with 25% stake in this club, can compete with the likes of the Man Cities, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids, that sort of level? Do you think he has the firepower and the investment and going to be able to bring in the people that can really do that at Manchester United in a way that Qatar would have came in, cleared all of the debt and been able to invest straight away into into everything really with the amount of money they have behind them?
So that's a complex question. So I'm going to divvy it up with Man City. No one can compete with other than PSG realistically.
Why could Qatar not compete with them though? If we ended up getting Sheikh Jassim in, surely he would have been able to compete with City, but eventually.
Yeah. That's where I'm going to go with this. Is like, that would I think the outright miraculous bid, yes, and that would make us compete with City. Hence, what I was saying at the beginning. That's my dream bid, obviously, but Sir Jim Ratcliffe can compete with the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona. No one can compete financially with City, Newcastle, and PSG, and that's fair. That's a fair argument to make. But we got to accept that Qatar bid was the dream, and we shouldn't set that as our standard. It's what we'd love to have. It's our dream, and it's my dream because I just dream of going to Old Trafford and just like a Legoland type Manchester United all over the place kind of a thing, you know. But I'm sorry, but Barcelona is the Wilco of football at the moment. It's going bankrupt. It's selling its future income to stay open. So I'm not going to use Barcelona as a good example of financial conduct. They're a great club, a great history, and that's what's keeping them standing at the moment. Real Madrid have the benefit of a bit of both, but I think they're the biggest club in the world, and they got their reputation. And even if they're struggling financially, they will always find their way to get investment in. So I think they have a bit of an advantage, and they've never been as low as Man United, I think, at any point, realistically. So I think it's a bit different with Real Madrid. But you're right to say that Qatar would definitely put us competing financially with Man City. And I would put it above. It would put us above Man City, in my opinion, because we got the history, the brand that's much bigger than City, and then we'd compete financially with them.
Yeah, Ryan, I completely am with you on that answer there, in the sense of the firepower of what Qatar would have had with the fan base that we have, and the global fan base and everything that kind of comes with Manchester United and its history would have been extraordinary. Unfortunately, that isn't going to happen, but thank you for coming on and saying something a little bit different to what we've been hearing, and really good conversation and good points made by yourself, so thanks for coming on. And you'll have to follow me on Twitter because I want to see more of what you say.
Like the fishbowl.
I want to see more stuff. Okay, see you later. Well, that was really, really interesting call.
Yeah,
and I love when people come on and just kind of bite back a little bit. I really do like it. I mean, Des Reynolds says, does Sir Jim have to go all in for players now? It's a farce with the Glazers. They are poison. We also have Dunk Aney saying, interestingly, Interestingly, Avram and Joel own just 25% combined. Sir Jim can own largest voting share if his 25% is made up of other Glazer siblings Class B shares. Dunkania, I feel like what you're trying to say there is, obviously the Glazers themselves own 69%, but when it's split between the 6 siblings, their voting power is obviously, you're basically saying it's less than what Sir Jim's is going to be. I don't think each Glazer sibling is going to go against each other there, but we'll have to. Well, that's what the meeting is on Thursday, to see where the Class A, Class B shares, how they're going to be kind of.
I heard it said about 12 out of the 25%. It's like 12% Class B, 12%, well, 12.5% Class A, which I guess that doesn't mean that he does have the majority, or not the majority, but a large voice, I guess, in that the stakeholder group. But well, I guess we've got to see what happens.
Yeah, Sean Turner says, people getting excited, rats getting hold of a rat getting hold of the sporting side. It literally means nothing because the Glazers are still in charge of the financial side. They have the majority stakeholders. Have I missed out on anybody else? I think they're all the super chats we have up to now. Thank you very much, everyone, for getting your discussions in. Very good call-in show so far. And next we have Naim, the ownership, talking about the ownership. This is like the ownership call-in show today, which is obviously after the news at the weekend, we've got to get into it, and that's what it's about. Thinks that Qatar would have completely changed Manchester if Sir Jim was a real fan. He wouldn't have bid. Similarly, talking to what we were saying before, it's a tough subject to talk about because, again, it's hard to kind of say you are not a fan. But I literally said before, I don't see how it can be possible. Yeah. So we'll get Naim in and get his thoughts in. Naim, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Beth. Hi, Mods. How you doing?
How you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
Good. Sorry, you just get cracking. Go away with what you want to say.
On face value, I think the bid itself, I just have to see whether he's buying stake in terms of if he has the footballing aspect of the club, or if he's just giving money to the Glazers hands. And I think it just depends, because I was all for the Qatar bid, but if it meant that we were just going to sign star players like Mbappe and things like that, I don't think it would have done anything for the team.
Yeah.
I think if we, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I think if we signed players like Matoma, or if we have a less of a budget under Ratcliffe, I think we'd make more shrewd signings, and that's the only silver lining I can see out of this deal. But on face value, I don't think it does anything for, the area, the stadium, and things like that. But it's the boat we're in right now. We can't really be picky because the choice is ultimately down to the Glazers.
So I just want to get this straight. So you think that we would do better with a smaller budget because we wouldn't be going after big name players? Because in a way I do agree, because signing Mbappe is not going to change United. We've tried to make so many it would help United, but over the past we've seen United try and make these big name signs like Pogba, like when we brought in Sanchez. Even Sancho, 72 million for Sancho was a big signing, and it hasn't really changed what we've or brought us to the point where we need to be. However, I do still think having a big budget and having a larger budget would at least clear out a lot of the players that need to be gone and bring in more players that maybe Ten Hag would want. Instead of him having to wait a few seasons to be able to get in his full team, it will mean that he can bring in more players at one time.
It can bring in a more ruthless approach as well. Like, for example, Ten Hag doesn't want Sancho now, Sancho wants to go. If you maybe had the ownership in that was just completely forward thinking around the club and had the budget, they would just pay off his contract and be like, bye, see you later. Whereas this would never happen under the ownership we currently have, and we've had this problem for years.
What do you think about
that? I think I agree with that to a certain extent, because but you can't have it all one way. So how do we know Qatar isn't gonna sign players that are egotistical as well, giving big wages and stuff, because they have the money? Because a player that's in another country will know that Qatar has money and would demand more. So it's a fine line, and I'm just thinking on basic terms here. If you have less money, you're more likely to be a bit more shrewd with it and be a bit more smarter, as opposed to someone who has a lot more. I don't know. There's a lack of care essentially when it comes down to that. So
I'm sorry, I don't think I agree, because look at Man City. They have such good rates in the market. They never overpay for players, and everybody knows how rich they are. Yeah. They do some really good deals. It saddens me to say. And you look at the prices they're paying for players, they don't get exploited in the market because, yes, people know they have money, but because they've got money, they've employed the best in class to go in, negotiate them deals, sort them deals out for them. I mean, just look, whenever they get in any trouble financially, you have like 50 lawyers turning up. They've just got the best of the best because they're very, very serious on the footballing aspect. And also, I know Newcastle are only just really getting started, but they've not exactly gone out and tried to sign like Neymar or Mbappe or anything like that. They've made some good signings, I would say.
Yeah, but they've been stopped by FFP and things like that. So I agree with your thing in the sense that we will have the best of the best when it comes to Qatar. But there's pros and cons to both sides of the deal. I just think I'm not for Ratcliffe, by the way. I'm pro Qatar all the way. I'm pro full sale of the club. But it's just the hand that we've been dealt with now. And I think you can't think negatively about the Ratcliffe bid entirely. I'm not saying that. It does nothing for the stadium and stuff like that. But if he gets a good DOF in and he can make the right signings, I think maybe you can't give up hope on your club. So I'm just trying to be as optimistic as I can, because it's a bad hand that we've been dealt with the last 20 years. But you have to look for a silver lining anyway. So I think if he brings a good DOF in and we get players that actually want to be there, because you have less money, they know that you're working within a certain budget, and we won't get the Sancho situation again if they transform their strategy when it comes to signing for players.
Yeah, one thing about having a bigger budget, it means that when you do buy players, they're not guaranteed. They're not performing anyway. They're not guaranteed to always play. You look at City when they brought in players like Mangala. They brought in loads of defenders. If you look at over the past, since Pep's been here, he spent over £1 billion on defenders. You look at, they brought in Bravo. You look at how many wingers that they brought in and have gone. When you have that big enough budget, if a player doesn't perform, you know that they can be replaced, because we have
Calvin Phillips.
Look at Calvin Phillips. Because we've had that money, we can say, you know what, even though we spent 50, 60, maybe even 70 million pounds on a player, because we've got a big enough budget, we can, if you're not performing, you're not playing to the standards that we expect you to, we can go out and we can bring someone else in. And I think that having that leeway, having that mindset, that if Ten Hag was to also, and the directors of football was to have that mindset, and the players was to also know that, I feel like it will push them to actually want to perform better, because when you're a big signing, you kind of have that shield up where it's like, I'm £70 million, I can almost not perform every game, but know that I'm still going to be in the team. Look at someone like Anthony. Anthony's not always performed every game, but he knows in the back of his head he's still going to make the team because he costs £70 million.
90.
Oh, 90 million pounds.
Yeah, sorry to ramble on, but I think there's a different level of pressure though when you're playing for United than you get at City and other clubs. There are more eyes on you as well. I just want to make one point before the point is I think we've done such a disservice to having a good DOF, because if we had a decent DOF at the club, I think a DOF and a manager shouldn't be best friends. Because right now I think whatever Ten Hag says, he gets at United. Because if I was in that position in the summer, I would have been, Eric, you can hate me as much as you want. I'm not signing you Mount. I'm going to sign you Kim Min-jae. And in January, if you really want Mount, we're going for a cut price deal. And I think you need that sort of hostility between the manager and the DOF. If they're best friends and they're just going to sign anything he wants, you're going to end up with the messes that we have currently.
I like that point. I think that is a good point. And I do think we are in desperate need of a good director of football. I mean, Qatar could have brought that in straight away. Sheikh Jassim would have brought in the best in class. But also, you look at Sir Jim Ratcliffe; he's looking to potentially get Paul Mitchell in. Is what we're hearing. But I like that because you've seen at Liverpool how well it works. Yeah. I mean, Klopp didn't go out and scout Salah himself. They brought Salah to him, and so many other. Players that Klopp actually brought forward after speaking to Melissa Reddy on subjects like this, he was actually told, no, this is more to your style. And I do think that is needed, because a manager is always going to get things like this wrong. At the end of the day, a manager, of course, should get priority signings and should have a say. Yeah. But at the same time, they are the manager of the team. Ten Hag shouldn't be the manager, the director of football, all of these kind of hats. He needs to focus on one thing with the best around him to help him. So, Naeem, thank you for calling in. Really do appreciate it. Right, last one word answer. If you could sign one player, the kind of statement signing of the Sir Jim Ratcliffe reign, who would you go for?
We have so many issues. One player, I'd delete. I'd try and bid for delete in the summer.
Okay, I think Ten Hag would probably be happy with that. Thank you, Naeem. Thank you so much. I mean, Delete, are you onto that, Mods? I
mean, I think we're going to be talking about centre-backs a bit more later on, but definitely we do need... he played very well for that Ajax team, and he's still kind of pretty young. He's at a good age where he's still going into his peak, so I think one problem that we do have with centre-backs is that they're all a bit old. We've got Varane, we've got Lindelof, he's 29, 30, Maguire's 29, 30, Evans is 36. So it's like we do kind of need a centre-back similar to Martinez, who is going into the prime, who can also develop with the club. So, yeah, it would be a pretty good signing.
Definitely. I mean, Marcus says Bellingham, could you imagine? That would have been... I mean, Delite hasn't been great recently, as some people put in the chat. I remembered Delite before he went to Bayern Munich, and he was really, really good. He's kind of not worked out there as well as what people would think, but I wouldn't complain about getting him in at all. Anthony Murray says Ineos revenue is 61 billion. So what is the plan? I mean, we do have Mark Ogden actually in the studio for an interview very soon, so we'll be asking him all about that sort of stuff. So exciting stuff. Yeah. Even though I am feeling deflated this Monday, I can't lie. We've got to delve into things. We've got to report on things, and we've got to talk about it as a community, because this is Manchester United, and this is what is happening to our club, whether we like it or not. Liam says, what if the Glazers also decline Ineos? They can't agree, and we are stuck completely. Multiple chefs in the kitchen. The chefs just want the ego of owning. Well, I was speaking that before, Liam, and I definitely think it's something that is a genuine concern. But next up, we have Antonis. The fan base after the sale seems like it's divided, and unity is needed. So we'll get Antonis in the chat. Antonis, are you with us?
Yeah. You able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. So, Antonis, talking about the fan base being divided, I mean, I have seen this a lot online, and it is sad to see, because the fan base is like this a lot of the time. But what are your thoughts on this? And do you think if the unity was there, what would you want to do with that moving forward?
I just think that being outside the UK and being on different Manchester United groups from abroad, like there's a huge split. Like this should be like a time where the fan base is united and we should come together because it's one of the most important days in modern Manchester United history. But I generally think I've seen more outrage when we lost to Palace a few weeks ago than this whole thing because people from the other side, like say, personally, I was more with Qatar, but I think every Man United fan, even if they did not support Qatar, should just realize that our aim is to get the Glazers out. And I just think we have not seen the outrage that one would expect. Like, just see what happened when the Super League. We have not seen the same outrage as that. Yeah.
I'd agree, but I feel like you have to bear in mind that a lot of fans have been going through this for a while now. I mean, Glazers have been in what, 18 years now?
2005, was it?
Yeah, so about 18 years. So a lot of fans are kind of a bit drained. I've heard a lot of fans say similar things about how we feel like we've been going through this for so long now. They feel like we're going through disappointment. So I guess that is part of the reason why you're not seeing the huge outrage. But I guess with with the kind of more optimistic view of what Sir Jim could bring, I feel like if that wasn't to go through, I feel like we see a bigger outrage because that feels like the last kind of resort right now. And it feels like if that was to go away, it's like, well, back to square one.
Even let's forget about the outrage. Like I've seen more arguing between the fans than any time since for years. Like some other fans are calling other fans because they support Qatar and they supposedly these people are evil and because they are in favor of sports washing, and they call them out because we want to be supposedly like Man City and they think they are better fans than the others. And I've never seen such toxicity. I don't think that clubs like Liverpool or other European clubs are so toxic when it comes to about the football administration, at least. Maybe about the footballing side, yeah, but not about the administration of the football club.
Well, Antonis, I do think it's really important that the fan base does come together on these topics. And the United stand is always willing to get involved with anything that can obviously help Manchester United in whatever way possible for a better future. But thank you so much for ringing in and having your say. We really do appreciate it. I mean, the fan base is always there's people that's always going to disagree in every walk of life, and especially because we're not good and we used to be good and people want us to be good, and you see it after a loss all the time. The toxicity online after a loss, it can be horrendous, and people taking out anger on other fans. I get where Antonis is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, you see it when you go to the games as well. Like you just hear people talking around about the different opinions. Everyone's got a different opinion. When things have been going wrong for so long, there's no one direct answer. There's no one, this is the exact problem, this is exactly how you're going to fix it. Because if it was that simple, it would have been fixed. So you're going to always have that kind of debate or that kind of controversy between what is the right step to go forward.
Exactly. I'm going to be interested to see what, obviously, I go to Old Trafford every home game, what the atmosphere is like on the next one, especially after the news that has just been announced. Musa says, "Hi Beth, today is one of the worst days of my life." What I would say is, obviously, it is upsetting, but don't let things out of your control get you down. Yeah. And I don't want to make it all philosophical because we're on the Colin show, but at the end of the day, as much as we love the club, and we do, and these stuff are obviously going to affect us, it's out of our control. Don't let that get you down because it's just going to bring more negativity into your life for no reason that you don't need. But next up, we have Ayu speaking about Todibo and linked with the centre-back from Nice. So, obviously, Sir Jim owns Nice. Yeah. Todibo is a centre-back that Eric Ten Hag has been looking at and that we want. I think this deal is inevitably going to happen. Maybe even as quick as January, depending on how quick.
It was supposed to happen before, but I think he turned it down on something like that. But yeah, again, hopefully. I want to hear what he has to say, though, but hopefully it does happen.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, are you with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. So, talking about Todibo there, first of all, is it the right signing for Manchester United? And second of all, I mean, this is inevitable, surely, with Sir Jim stepping in.
I believe so. He's a 23-year-old center back, and he's been playing well lately. And also, since we are already bought by Sir Jim Ratcliffe at this point, I would say it's really inevitable to sign him. So my only concern would be that if Ten Hag actually wants him in his team, and if he does, I think we should really go for him.
I have a question. Who would you replace? Because from what I've not watched a lot of Nice football, but from what I've read up on him is that he's a very proactive player. He's very similar to Martinez, whereas he's more of an attacker and aggressor to go and get the ball and retrieve it, rather than being a more like take a step back, kind of like a Varane or more composed.
Yeah, he's very composed on the ball.
Composed on the ball, but he's similar to the way Martinez plays, and it'll be interesting to see if, because the desirable centre-back partnership would be Martinez and new centre-back. So it'll be interesting to see how they both play together. But in your opinion, who would you take out the team? Or what would your starting centre-back partnership be with if he was in the team?
Yeah, so first of all, what I'm worried about is Martinez missing almost about 6 months of over the last year because he missed the end of last year, and also the first 3 months. He will be missing the first 3 months of this season. So when he comes back, he's not going to be quite sharp to be involved in the Premier League games. Also, if we advance in the Champions League, I believe that he should, if we sign him in January, and Todibo would be a good partner with Varane until the end of the season, and then we could try to move on Varane just because of his injury concerns as well. And also, we're seeing that Harry Maguire is also maybe trying to move to West Ham, and if that move materializes and he actually moves out of Manchester United, we're going to be losing 2 or 3 center backs at the end of the year, just because Johnny Evans also only signed for a deal that's going to last only about a year. So we're going to need another center back also, and our age is also pushing in center back areas.
I mean, Ayo, when you look at who we've got now and who we've got available, I think it is strikingly obvious that why Ten Hag did want to go for the Kim Min-jae and did want to go for a centre-back in the summer. Talking about Varane there, is Varane somebody that you'd be looking to move on next year? I mean, I love Varane, but this injury concern, it is a problem, and you can never really get settled in a team if your best centre-back just keeps coming in and out, because obviously when he's fit you want to play him, but it disturbing the back four consistently.
Yes, he's a really good center back in my opinion. Like, he's been great over the last 10 years. And also at Real Madrid, we know that he won 5 Champions League, and also at Manchester United, he's actually the best center back we've got inside the team at the moment. I think we should move him on just because we need some kind of consistency in a team. In center backs, they need to be playing at least 20 games a season together, and I don't think Varane is capable of that at this moment. And also, he's been complaining about the amount of games that he's been playing lately. So I think he should move to maybe the Saudi Pro League, and if we get good money for him, I think he could be funding another center back that we could sign that's a younger one.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, onto that point about, Varane, obviously, he came out and was complaining about the amount of games that players are being made to play. And obviously, he's getting a bit older and whatnot. But one thing about Varane that he has maybe other than Casemiro, the whole team is experience. And we actually need experienced players in that team, because there's a conversation about captaincy, and obviously Bruno was a captain right now, and I do think he should be the captain, but hypothetically, Bruno wasn't the captain. How many other captains do we have in that team? How many leaders, how many experienced players do we have in the team? And there's not a lot, so players like Varane and Casemiro, they bring that experience into the team. So would you not rather a player like Varane maybe, instead of being a starting centre-back, he could maybe be a substitute, and that would mean that he would be playing less games, which is what he wants anyway, and also he'll be able to bring in that leadership and that experience into the team.
That's very true. That's a really good perspective. We need leaders in the team. I think Casemiro would be one to keep on the bench in the future, in my opinion, just because he looks kind of leggy this season, and I don't think he's going to get any younger next season. I think Casemiro would be a good one to keep. And also Lisandro Martinez, he's a recent World Cup winner. So I think he's another shout for a captaincy.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. Ayu, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. And yeah, we'll see if Todibo does happen. But I think all of the stuff with the ownership right now is everything's so up in the air. We'll need to see how this meeting goes on Thursday. But thank you so much for calling in, and it is a point that I was thinking about myself over the weekend, so thank you. I mean, I've just had a message through, which is really, really interesting, DZ. I've got DZ up on my messages, that's why. Mods, messages that are coming through. And this is a really, really good point, and DZ sent this through, so I wanted to bring it up. And he said that he was trying to phrase it the right way, but the Commanders, the Washington Commanders, the sports team, were acquired over the summer for $6 billion. The Glazers had to know either all of the owners approve it, because they all talk as well. The Glazers wanted to sell for a record, and the Commanders acquisition and the Broncos acquisition screwed us. Basically, because that sale went for around $6 billion. The Glazers wanted to top that in order to do a full sale of Manchester United, and Qatar just couldn't reach that number, so maybe that's why they decided not to go for a full sale.
So it sounds like, again, it's a money issue, pretty much, with Glazers, which I feel like it's a common consensus with everyone anyway. Like, Glazers are really just trying to sell to get the most that the most is even an understatement. They're trying to break records. They're trying to get more than what they even should be getting, pretty much, and that's
completely overvaluing. And it is obviously it's a huge asset, Manchester United, but they have overvalued it, and I think Sir Jim's overvalued it as well with how much he's paid for 25%. But we'll see how it works out. Seema Jaya, Red Devil, member for 7 months with Sir Jim. Ratcliffe, the debt of the club still exists. Will this hinder us from signing players? Is there any plans to remove the debt out of the club? I'm going to be asking Mark Ogden this soon. We have an interview with him coming up. And I also read a brilliant article by Andy Crafton on The Athletic talking about how Sir Jim is putting all of the debt, his plan when he acquires the full amount of Manchester United, if that does happen, is to put the debt onto Ineos. So Manchester United will not have debt. Ineos will carry the debt, which is a difference to what is happening now. I'm not pro Sir Jim at all. I really am deflated about this, but the debt will be moved on to Ineos. So there is still debt that will have to be paid back eventually, but it won't be actually on Manchester United. Alan Noonan says, can I get a call from Ireland? Click the link in the description and phone into the Discord, and we'll try and get as many people on as possible. Anyway, let's move on to our next caller here. So we have David talking about the ownership. First time they'll gain support, but the main thing for them is to suck the soul of the club. And we'll have the same issues under Sir Jim, performance-wise as well. I hate to say that I kind of, that's the way I see it going, to be honest with you.
Ownership is in with Sir Jim?
With the Sir Jim ownership, I don't see us being able to be successful, being honest. But
I agree, to be honest. I mean, I've always said that the only way United are going to change is if everything changes. There's no point trying to pick one part of United right now and say we're just going to change this bit and hope for the best. What you have to do is the club needs a full cultural reset. Every part of the club needs to be changed, or it needs to be at least developed. Maybe change is a strong word because that sounds like they're trying to get people out, but a cultural reset, an update, a development over the full entire club. 25% doesn't sound like it's a full club. So, I mean, let's see what he's got to say anyway.
Yeah, you with us?
Yeah, I'm with us. Hello.
Hi, thank you for coming on. So explain to us your stance on Sir Jim and why you don't think anything's going to change with him coming in as a potential future owner for Manchester United.
So for me, the thing is that the issue for me is the 25%, which is quite right now purchased, and I really hope that he will have some sort of an influence on the club with the stake he's right now going to buy, but I really don't know what 25% is going to do it for now in the short term. I believe in the long term, maybe it might give us, I will give him a benefit of the doubt that if he makes the full takeover and invests in the club, in the stadium, players, develops the club culture and etc. Yeah, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt that I think that might be his plan, but I was devastated, of course, that the Qataris went out of the race because, in my opinion, that would be the best owner for us. So, yeah, the thing what gives me a little bit hope and I'm trying to be positive here is that the Ineos group owns Mercedes in Formula One, so they are quite ambitious there. And I think, yeah, maybe the past 2 years they've been off against Red Bull, but before then, they were quite competitive, and I think that is going to be the goal for them with Manchester United. I hope so, at least.
David, really good point actually, because I didn't know that myself.
Yeah,
so really good point, kind of bringing it into the show there. I mean, with Sir Jim, how do you see him going about regaining Manchester United to be a competitive sporting team on the field? How do you think he should go about this, and what do you think he needs to do?
Firstly, what I would do if I were him, I would never be in his shoes. But in my opinion, I think he has to bring in professionals who know how to rebuild a club, who know how to make a proper structure, how to invest, where to invest, what type of players do Ten Hag need, and our playing style needs. I think that is the first thing that he has to do. And of course, the stadium, he has to either renovate it or, I don't know, build a new one or do something with it, because Old Trafford is, I don't know, so soon is going to flood. So I really think that is going to be the first step, that bringing professionals is the most important. Like, if you have money and you do everything by yourself, like you can look at the PSG, they didn't have that good of a recruitment team, and that's why they failed multiple times, because they didn't have that many professionals who could do their job. So that's the first thing. What I would do is bring in maybe Paul Mitchell or other sport directors and people who really know what to do to rebuild and have a proper structure. And the second thing is that I hope that he made the deal with the Glazers that, yeah, you can have your dividends, but let me take care of the sporting stuff of the club. So maybe if that's going to be more promising, but I really can't say 100%.
That's a very good point. I want to touch on the sporting side of it, more specifically the Ten Hag side of it. How would you, again, if you were in his shoes, how would you deal with Ten Hag? How much time would you give him, and how much, or what performances would you say he should be expecting to reach by, let's say, the end of the season or next season?
To be honest, I would. It's hard to say, because if the team is going to continue losing and having bad results, I'm not against Ten Hag. I would not fire him, but when the new owner comes and he doesn't see the results he's expecting, maybe he wants to start first thing with the manager. I can't really say that, because I don't know what their point of view is on the club. And the second thing is that I would definitely give him until the end of the season, and the start at least by the next January, because I don't know, if we make transfers in the summer and rebuild the team, and if he still is not going to put up the results, then maybe we can have a different conversation. If the new owners do their best, which we are all hoping to be the case, but I don't know, at least this season, I don't think Ten Hag is going to get fired. But on the other issues, what I wanted to say is I think this summer transfer window showed that Ten Hag is not the one who should make the calls only. We really need the professionals to, I don't know, try to build our squad, because the signings which we made, I like all of them, but I really don't think that they were luxury signings. And I think Ten Hag made a mistake in that, because we needed to strengthen the different positions in our squad rather than bring in the luxury players. So that's my opinion on it.
David, just before you go, I mean, you talked about Sir Jim with Mercedes and the F1, and I feel like a lot of people have called in today and they have slight hope, and obviously everybody's entitled to their opinion, but if you look at Sir Jim, he has the Mercedes shares, and you know, this is a chat that's coming into me now. Look at how Hamilton is doing, and look how Mercedes is doing. He owns Nice, a club in League One, and they've never gone above fifth since he's been an owner there. And I know they wasn't doing too well before that either, but you know, fifth, ninth, it's not really a good track record. And then United go into that sort of club, that sort of stature. There's been not really any signs that he's going to be able to cut it at the highest level.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing on the Formula One I would add is that they don't have the full power. They are ambitious. They want results, but they own only 33% of Mercedes in Formula One. So everything is not up to them. They bring investments, but they are not the ones who do the engineering. Like in football, it's kind of different when you analyze and when you try to build a team. But when you do the engineering, it's not my expertise, but in my opinion, it's not only on the Ineos. What I meant on the Formula One stuff on the Mercedes is that they are ambitious there. They want results. They had the best driver, Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, he's fallen off the cliff, but they went and gone with George Russell, the upcoming prospect, one of the biggest prospects at the moment. So I think they are ambitious. They are right now miles below Red Bull and maybe even Ferrari, but for now, I think that is the only thing that gives me hope, is that I think Ineos Group in total, not only Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I think the total of the Ineos Group are ambitious in sports. I can't talk about Nice, but when it comes to the big names, the big clubs, and the big revenues, of course, I think they should be ambitious. Otherwise, they're going to fail and end up just like the Glazers. So they have to do something to get the fans behind their back. So.
Thank you for that, David. Lastly, I'll ask you one last question. Is a statement signing? Who do you think who do you think they should go for? Oh, is he already gone? He's already been cut off. He's already been cut off. But who would you get as a statement signing then?
Well, right now?
Yeah.
That's a good question. It would be a centre back, I think. I like the Todibo. I like that.
I think I would go with Todibo just because of one, how well he's developing, and two, because Ten Hag seems to really like him.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
One thing I would say about the whole Nice conversation is I do think it's a bit unfair to compare what he's done there at United, because one, size of club completely different, and two, they're playing in a league which is solely dominated by one team. I know City are doing very, very well right now, but the Premier League isn't really solely dominated by City. We could see last season Arsenal did very well after coming eighth and fifth. So comparing United to Nice and saying, oh, what's he going to do there when he only got fifth with Nice? Like, it's two completely different worlds. So I think we have to be a bit more optimistic as to the size of the club that he's working with now. It's not the same kind of level as competing in a league where you've got a super powerhouse like PSG.
I get you, but at the same time, I think somebody who is coming in to try and own Manchester United fully, who's already had a track record owning other football clubs, whether the stature or the size or not, and it's not gone the way that a lot of Nice fans would want it, and he's not reached the success that he planned out to do, that is a red flag to me. I think success breeds success, and if you've proved that you can't be successful at one club, what should make us think, oh, coming to Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, you'll be able to do it here? Because it's so, like you said, it is so much different, and I think it's a lot harder of a task.
It is a lot harder of a task, but I think it's about, I think someone said in one of the other calls, it's about what you've done behind the scenes to show that you can get the club to that point. We look at someone like Klopp, I know we obviously don't own, he's a manager, but how much success did he have before he came to Liverpool? Nowhere near the amount that he's achieved at Liverpool, but Liverpool could see that it was the things that he was doing behind the scenes which showed that he has the potential to reach that success. So if we look at what Sir Jim's done to the clubs and how he's developed the clubs, not just the results on paper, but how he's actually developed the actual club itself, then you can see how he can bring that to United and how it can develop. The same with Ten Hag. He obviously managed a team in a league which is a lot smaller than the Premier League, and his best achievement in the Champions League was a semi-final. But you could see through his styles of play, through the young players that he brought in, through the way how he developed the club and the academy and whatnot, that he could also bring that to United and achieve bigger things. So it's not necessarily always about what results did they get there, can they get the same results here? Sometimes it's about seeing the development that they've done and can they bring that same development to a new club.
I get your point. I mean, I hope we can get to a Champions League semi-final the way you did at Ajax, to be honest with you. International 2675, statement signing, Osman and City do dominate the Premier League. Well, that's all we have time for on today's calling show. Thank you to all of our callers for calling up. Some really good calls then. And also, thank you, Maud's first calling show, and I thought it went really, really well.
Thank you.
So, yeah, follow Maud and everything, by the way. He's been doing a few more shows with us, and yeah, they've been good. And thank you to all of you guys in the chat as well. The super chats, all the comments, flagging up different things, giving us stuff to talk about. We really do appreciate you guys, and this is your community show. So if you want to be involved, click the link in the description to join our Discord, or you can scan the QR code that goes out on all of our socials. Thanks everyone for watching. Mark Ogden interview coming up very, very soon here on the United Stand, talking all things Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid, what he plans to do with the club, how the Qataris ended up losing this race. Really interesting stuff, and exclusive on the United Stand coming soon from the studio. Make sure you stay tuned for that, and have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. We will see you on the next one.